Hello. Big news, of course, this week. Ampere Computing acquired for $6.5 billion in an all-cash deal. I'll get to that in a sec. But first, just wanted to tell you, I record on Thursday nights. I just got back from an amazing event at Vanport Studio where they revealed some work they've been doing with some local companies. There was Funner, which, full disclosure, built by a team that is a Pi alum, and I'm the co-founder and general manager of Pi. Really nice to see the work that Instrument and Vanport Studio were able to do for that company. And then Henderson Avenue Wines. They also did a rebrand for that wine brand. Again, really nice to see the creative community, the tech community, the CPG community coming together to support one another, because as Stephen Green, co-founder of Vanport Studio, shared, everybody's getting something out of this. Like, the creatives are getting something out of it. The people building the companies are getting something out of it. Amazing work all around, and really honored to get the opportunity to hang out and see those reveals of the work that had been done. So congratulations to those companies. Keep an eye on both of them, because could be bigger things happening with them later. And there was also the reveal that there will be something, kind of later this year with Vanport Studio. Maybe another reveal, maybe some more companies they're working with. So I'm just excited about that. I'm all hyped up coming out of like a demo day thing, but back to the big news. $6.5 billion in an all cash deal, Ampere Computing. And the story of Ampere is founder Renee James, University of Oregon alum. She's a duck. I think 2-time. I think she got her undergrad and her graduate degree at U of O. She was the president of Intel. Perhaps you've heard of Intel. She was the president there. And, for whatever reason, I'm not going to speculate, she left Intel and then she started Ampere. Ampere, I don't have the exact date. Like, at one part of the site, it said 2017. In the press release, it said 2018. So let's say 2017-ish. Ampere started. Renee James started Ampere. Why am I talking about this? Isn't Ampere a hardware company headquartered in the Bay Area? Well, yes, but they have more than 250 employees here in the Portland area. And I think I heard somebody say that Renee James lives in the Portland area. So, like, there's all that. It's a very Portland story. So, again, $6.5 billion in all cash. Who has the money to do that? SoftBank. SoftBank picked them up. SoftBank's been doing a lot of like AI dabbling. And while Ampere, that might help to tell you, Ampere originally started building chips to help improve the energy load on cloud computing chips. And they not pivoted necessarily, but they recognized that that was also valuable for AI. And I don't know if you know this, but AI is kind of the hot thing right now. Maybe you've heard some people talking about the AI. So they entered the AI chip market as well, which, you've heard of other companies in that, like NVIDIA and other companies in that space. And obviously really paid off for them. So they will become like a wholly owned subsidiary operating on their own. There's supposed to be no effect to the Portland office. No idea how that exit kind of sprinkles out among founders and employees and investors and all that kind of thing. But still, $6.5 billion for a startup with a significant Portland presence that was only started 6 or 7 years ago, depending on how you count it. That's pretty impressive. And a 6 or 7 year turn time for an exit that large is practically unheard of here in the region. So I will continue to track Ampere as more details come out about the deal. I read through the SoftBank kind of like statement on the acquisition and the the elements and the stuff about the acquisition. And so not a ton of detail, but I will keep an eye on it. And it was just a huge story and like a huge surprise. I was having one of those weeks where it's like, I don't know if I'm going to have a big news story this week. What is my big news story going to be? And lo and behold, Wednesday evening, Thursday morning, Ampere really just takes over all the headlines. So there you go. Ampere Computing, $6.5 billion in an all-cash deal acquired by SoftBank Group. Speaking of acquisitions, I'm sorry, my segues are awful, but we were speaking of acquisitions, and I would like to speak about another acquisition. You may remember last year that Jama software, which had been one of the not darling, they'd been one of the known and recognized startups in Portland during that kind of last era of software SaaS startups coming out of the mortgage crisis. Jama Software was a huge player among them. And what I really loved about them is they kind of bootstrapped as long as they possibly could and only took venture capital when they absolutely benefited from having that equity-based investment and that infusion of capital and were able to use it wisely. They kind of sort of exited, but a lot of folks, they took some PE, some private equity investment, and a lot of folks kind of held on to their shares until last year, 2024, when Jama finally exited for $1.2 billion. So $6.5 billion, $1.2 billion. Why am I talking about this now? Well, it's up for an award with the GeekWire Awards. If you're not familiar with GeekWire, our friends to the north in Seattle, GeekWire is a publication that covers all aspects of technology in the Pacific Northwest. They've got great national coverage, great international coverage, but of course, a lot of their coverage is focused on kind of the technology giants in the Seattle area, but they also, their roots are in the startups and sharing what was going on with the startups, and they continue to do that. And so they have this amazing awards show every year. I've been several times. It's a big event, big kind of gala event, and I encourage you to go if you're into those kind of things. But what I encourage you to do before that is one of the categories is like best exit acquisition-y thing. I can't remember the category title, but anyway, Jama's up for that award. And it's rare for Portland companies to get a little of that limelight from GeekWire and the GeekWire Awards. So I would suggest you go vote for it. There are a whole bunch of other interesting things to vote for as well, like best leaders and companies and moments and whatever. I'm really focused on the Jama thing because it's a Portland thing. But the Jama software exit is up among other exits, deals. Maybe that's what it was, best deal, something along those lines. And I personally do think it was the best deal of last year. So if you tend to agree and you maybe want to vote on a few other categories, I will link up the GeekWire Awards voting sheet, GeekWire Awards 2025 voting sheet for you to kind of check off your favorites there. And I would encourage you, again, to attend the GeekWire Awards. It's just a great gathering of startup community, larger tech community, Seattle community, Pacific Northwest community. It's just always a great event, and really respect not only the publication the GeekWire folks have built, but the event series and big events and annual gatherings they're able to put together for the entire Pacific Northwest tech community. Again, Jama Software, $1.2 billion last year, and ridiculous exit for Oregon Venture Fund. But I encourage you to vote and then also consider making the trip up to attend. Maybe you're building the next big thing. Maybe you're going to be recognized by the GeekWire Awards in the not too distant future. And maybe, just maybe, you're doing that work in Washington County. Well, if you are, and you want to start getting on the radar of publications like GeekWire and Silicon Florist and maybe some potential investors, there's no better place for Washington County startups than the Westside pitch competition. But there's a catch. I hope you're watching this on Friday, March 21st, 2025, because the applications are due today. You got to get your application in. If you're a Washington County startup, if you want to compete and pitch your thing and compete for funding from Ty Oregon, who runs the whole event, series of events. Actually, they do Washington County, they do Multnomah County, and across the river, Clark County. Those are kind of combined for Vancouver, and then Clackamas County. So they do a series of these three things. This is the Washington County one called Westside Pitch. They've been doing it for a long, long time. And it always draws out some really compelling startups, some folks I haven't seen before. That's the thing. If you're interested in like what's happening in Washington County, you should attend, because you're going to see somebody you haven't heard of, or a company that you've never seen before, or whatever. So there's that opportunity as well, thanks to Ty Oregon. So again, I'm sorry for the late notice. This is just a reminder. March 21st is the deadline for the Westside pitch competition. But I'll tell you what, if you're watching this over the weekend after March 21st, I don't know, maybe somebody forgot to close it down. I would go and try and apply. Anyway, just saying, like, you may be able to like squeak in there before they shut the door and get your application in there, and then people are going to judge the applications, and then they're going to pick the people who are going to pitch, and then I will let you know who will be pitching at that event. But the event itself is in May, I believe. So if you want to attend, you've got a little while, but you can register now. But I'll let you know when it's coming up. Westside Pitch 2025. Get your applications in now, like yesterday, if you have a flux capacitor or whatever. So I don't know if you've been tracking on this, but there's a lot of crazy shit going on at the federal level. One of those things that is like just does not compute is a lot of the things, the claims at the federal level about why these crazy things are happening is that they're seeking government efficiency. And so when that efficiency-seeking behavior targets an organization like 18F, which was kind of an innovative technology group at the federal level that really used technology to make things work better and improve operations for other government agencies and entities at the federal level. 18F, that's what they did. That's what they were designed to do. Like, it was a really compelling way of activating brilliant technology people in a way that improved public service and the delivery of those services to the constituency of the United States and all those bureaus and agencies and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, they were unceremoniously, I think it's probably the best adverb for it, unceremoniously immediately shut down, really in a very sad and tragic way. Really in a way that I've tried to record this like 5 times, and I still can't quite get the words of how jarring and awful and unnecessary that shutdown of 18F was. And I really feel for all the amazing people who worked at 18F and who immediately lost their jobs. I think it was late at night on a Friday or something. Be that as it may, I always love when a positive comes out of a negative. And the positive here is Ron Bronson, who is the, I believe, head of design at 18F. I'm pretty sure that was his role. He, here in Portland, has decided, like, well, we have all these talented people who are very civically minded, who can do amazing things with technology. What if what if I start the Portland Digital Core and we rally people to help nonprofits and other folks with like quick technology fixes, like kind of hackathon sprint activity to provide tooling or fix things or make nonprofits better or whatever, like quick hit projects, not programs, not like big products with roadmaps and things, but get in, get out, fix stuff, leave, build something, give it to people, get out. So that's the idea behind the Portland Digital Core. New movement really makes me super nostalgic for, an earlier version of the Portland tech community when, we weren't necessarily driven consistently by trying to build companies or trying to build unicorns. A time when the community, in a very kind of open sourcey, open data kind of way, was just trying to creatively use technology to make things happen and improve things for the greater good. And this is what the Portland Digital Core feels like to me, at least in their positioning and how they're describing what they can do. Like, yeah, it harkens back to the open source days, open data days that really led to an amazing startup movement in town, as well as an incredible open source community. So I'm hoping this is kind of the inklings of something like that. If it sounds interesting to you and you want to get involved, they're looking for both projects as well as volunteers. And they're having an information session. I will link that up if you would like to RSVP. But I will definitely be keeping an eye on this project, keeping you informed about what they build and what they release and who they work with and all those kind of things. And thank you to each and every one of you who can carve out an hour or two to volunteer on some of their projects. I think this could have really, really meaningful impact, not only for our immediate kind of techie startup community, but for the broader populace of Portland, of Oregon, of the vast number of amazing nonprofits in our midst. This feels right. This feels good. Like, shutting down 18F felt bad. Portland Digital Core feels good and feels right. So if it resonates with you the same way it does with me, I encourage you to volunteer your time or submit a project for the Portland Digital Core. Time for another bad segue. Speaking of building things and stuff, I just, sometimes, practically every day, get done with work and I don't watch like cable television, so I get like most of my news from YouTube. It's still local news, but like go to YouTube, watch news, and other videos pop up, and I noticed that our buddy Dave Barkos up in North Bank Innovations in Vancouver, Washington, across the river, as we would say, across the Columbia River up there, had dropped, like literally seconds before I started watching, had dropped a new video. And he kind of goes through some events that are going on and some, like a hackathon maybe, but then in a very like, not bury the lead, but in a very like, oh, the thing I'm most interested in was actually at the end of that video. Vancouver, Washington may be in the midst of building a startup incubator, which is super interesting because we haven't really had like an incubatory thing for a while, and it could be really helpful to not only the broader community, but Vancouver, obviously. So I will link up that video. Not a lot of detail, just Dave kind of like putting a stake in the ground saying in 2025, Vancouver, Washington will launch a startup incubator. So I'll keep an eye on that. You know me, I like the incubator and accelerator-y kind of stuff. So I will definitely be staying tuned. I will definitely keep you up to date on what's going on over there. But stay tuned. In 2025, Vancouver, Washington will have a startup incubator. So in my world, incubators and accelerators are two very different things. For most people, they're like, oh, that's all the same stuff. But for me, they're very different. And when you start talking about incubators, I start thinking about accelerators. And when you start thinking about accelerators, there are really two big names that come to mind. One of those is Techstars, which is, kind of a global network of accelerator programs. And then the other one, the OG, the granddaddy, is Y Combinator. And when YC comes to mind for me, I immediately think of Darius Monsef, a Portland founder who is a 3-time YC alum. He's been through YC 3 times. First with Color Lovers, which became Creative Market and then was acquired by Autodesk, with Brave Care, which was urgent pediatric care clinics, kind of along the same lines as a Zoom Care or something of that ilk, that also wound up getting kind of acquired. He exited from that, and his team exited from that. And then he went the AI route, took a lot of the same team members, and they were building a product called Genie that was a companion, an AI companion for children that not only provided them with companionship, friendship, but also started to educate them on the dynamics of working with artificial intelligence. And he just kind of gave a little retrospective on Genie. They wound up winding it down. I think I mentioned that at the end of the year, that they wound up winding Genie down. But this was a nice just kind of deep dive on the reasoning behind that and the challenges of building technology for children in an ethical way. And I think that's the most interesting part of it. And it wasn't even just the regulatory environment, it was the ethics of building technology directed at children and what you need to do there to be a good steward of that technology and the products that you're building. So really interesting piece that he wrote up, and I will link that up. But then at the end, he teased his new thing he's working on, which is called Rides. It's for car people. If you're a car person, if you love the cars, if you trick out your car and you're proud of it, you got lots of pieces and parts that you bought from other places, lots of bling and things to jazz it up. So, because if you weren't following along, Darius's personal stuff, he had a Lightning McQueen car. He had a Batmobile. I think he got rid of Lightning McQueen, but he may still have the Batmobile. Had a couple others, but he really likes cars. So this is one of those where it's a passion of his. He recognized a pain point or a need for community and collaboration in the car industry that was not being served. And so Rides is his new startup, kind of attacking that opportunity and seeing what he can do there. It's really waitlist right now. I think there may be some beta testing going on, but if you're a car person and you are interested in seeing what Darius is working on, I will link it up, and I encourage you to go check out Rides. Speaking of rides, I'm riding out of here. That's it for this week. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're hanging in there. And until we get the chance to chat again, please keep up the good work.